December 27, 1941, 06:45 hours, Vågsøy Island, Norway. The landing craft hit the beach. The ramp dropped. German machine guns opened fire from concrete bunkers. Bullets tore through the air. This was Operation Archery. 216 British commandos against 250 German soldiers. The commandos crouched, waiting, preparing to charge into hell. Then one man stood up, Lieutenant Colonel John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill. In his left hand, a claymore sword, Scottish, two-handed, forged in 1740. In his right hand, bagpipes. He stepped onto Norwegian sand, raised the bagpipes to his lips, began playing March of the Cameron Men. The commandos stared. The Germans stared. Everyone stared. This British officer was walking toward German positions, playing bagpipes, under machine gun fire, like he was leading a parade, not an assault. A German soldier in the nearest bunker turned to his sergeant. "What is that?" The sergeant didn't answer, couldn't answer, because there was no answer. No training manual covered British officer with medieval sword and bagpipes attacking your position. Mad Jack finished his march, put down the bagpipes, drew his sword, charged. This is the story of the most eccentric, most dangerous, most completely insane British officer of World War II, the man who proved that medieval weapons could kill Nazis just as effectively as modern firearms, the man who captured 42 German soldiers armed with only a sword, the man who escaped from 2 concentration camps, the man who was genuinely disappointed when the war ended. John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill, Mad Jack, the officer who went to war dressed like it was 1740, 1906, 1939, the gentleman who became a warrior. John Churchill was born September 16, 1906 in Hong Kong, British colonial family, no relation to Winston Churchill despite sharing the surname. His father was a civil servant, respectable, boring, everything young John was determined not to be. He attended King William's College on the Isle of Man, showed early talent for archery, could hit targets at 100 yards consistently by age 12. Also showed talent for getting into trouble, challenged teachers to duels, not serious duels, mock duels, with wooden swords, but still. At 18, he graduated from the Royal Military College, Sandhurst, became a second lieutenant in the Manchester Regiment, posted to Burma, British colonial service, quiet posting, no action. Churchill hated it. He left the army in 1936. Too boring, too peacetime. He wanted adventure. What did he do instead? Became a model, professional male model in London, tall, lean, good-looking in a vaguely aristocratic way, appeared in fashion magazines, made decent money, also became an actor, small roles, background work, appeared in The Thief of Baghdad, 1940. You can see him in the background of crowd scenes, wearing period costume, holding a sword, looking completely at home. Also became an archery champion, represented Great Britain in the World Archery Championships in 1939. Oslo, Norway, finished in the top rankings, not first place but competitive, good enough to prove he could hit what he aimed at. Also learned to play bagpipes, Scottish heritage. His grandfather had been a piper. Churchill learned the traditional tunes, practiced obsessively. Neighbors complained about the noise. He didn't care. By 1939, John Churchill was 33 years old. Model, actor, archer, bagpiper, collector of medieval weapons. His London flat contained 3 swords, 2 bows, a collection of arrows, bagpipes, and absolutely no modern firearms. When war was declared in September 1939, Churchill immediately rejoined the army, posted to France with the British Expeditionary Force. Finally, a chance to use his skills. His commanding officer reviewed Churchill's file. Model, actor, bagpiper, archer. "Churchill, you understand this is modern warfare? Tanks, aircraft, artillery." "Yes, sir. I brought my sword." "Your what?" "My claymore." A gentleman should never go to battle improperly dressed. The officer stared. You brought a sword to France? And my longbow, and my bagpipes. May 1940, the last longbow kill in warfare. Lepinette, France, May 27, 1940. The British Expeditionary Force was collapsing. Germans advancing on all fronts. Dunkirk evacuation had begun. France was falling. Churchill and 2 soldiers from his regiment had taken position in a church tower. Orders: delay the German advance. Buy time for the evacuation. The Germans came at dawn. Infantry patrol, 30 men, marching down the road toward Lepinette, confident. Why not? They were winning the war. Churchill's men had rifles, standard Lee Enfield, 303 caliber, effective range 500 yards. They raised their weapons, prepared to fire. Churchill raised his longbow. One soldier turned. Sir, what are you doing? Shooting Germans. With a bow. Rifles are loud. They'll know our position immediately. The bow is silent. We kill a few quietly, then use rifles for maximum effect. The logic was insane. It was also correct. Churchill knocked an arrow. English longbow, you would. Draw weight 80 pounds. The same weapon English archers had used at Agincourt in 1415. The German patrol came closer. 50 yards, 40 yards, 30 yards. Churchill drew, aimed. The German sergeant leading the patrol, center mass, held his breath, released. The arrow flew. 2 seconds of flight. Impact. The sergeant fell. Arrow through his chest, dead before he hit the ground. The German patrol stopped, confused. Their sergeant had just fallen, but they heard no gunshot. What killed him? One German saw the arrow, pointed, shouted something in German. Too late. Churchill's men opened fire with rifles, caught the patrol in the open. Within 30 seconds, 15 Germans were dead. The rest retreated. Churchill's first kill of World War II. The last confirmed longbow kill in the history of warfare. He would later say it was one of his most satisfying moments, not because of the killing, because he'd proved medieval weapons could work in modern combat. The commando after Dunkirk, Churchill volunteered for the commandos. Special forces, raids, sabotage. Exactly what he wanted. He arrived at training with his full kit, sword, bow, bagpipes. The commando instructor stared. Churchill, this is not a costume party. I'm aware. These are my weapons. You'll be issued modern weapons. I'll carry those too, but I'm bringing my sword. The instructor gave up. If Churchill wanted to carry extra weight, that was his problem. But during training, something became clear. Churchill was extremely good. Hand-to-hand combat, infiltration, silent killing, all the skills commandos needed Churchill had. Because he'd been training with swords and bows for 20 years. Modern soldiers learned to shoot rifles at 300 yards. Churchill had been hitting targets at 100 yards with a bow since he was 12. His patience, his breathing control, his ability to remain still for hours, all archery skills, all directly applicable to commando work. Close combat. He'd been practicing with swords since childhood, knew how to move, how to strike, how to kill efficiently. The instructor changed his assessment. Churchill is insane, but he's effective. Let him carry the sword. Operation Archery, the Bagpiper Commando, December 1941. British commandos were planning raids on German-occupied Norway. Targets, coastal defenses, communications, supply depots. Operation Archery targeted Vågsøy Island. German garrison of 250 soldiers, coastal guns covering the approaches, strong defensive position. 216 British commandos would assault from the sea, destroy the garrison, withdraw before German reinforcements arrived. Standard commando operation. Churchill was assigned to lead the assault on the main beach. His men checked their weapons, Sten guns, Thompson submachine guns, grenades, Mills bombs, everything a modern soldier needed. Churchill checked his claymore, his bagpipes. One of his men approached. Private Davies, young, first combat operation. Sir, permission to ask a question? Granted. Why the bagpipes? To announce our arrival. The Germans will hear us coming. They'll be terrified. Won't that eliminate the element of surprise? We're attacking in broad daylight across an open beach against fortified positions. There is no element of surprise. We need shock and intimidation. Bagpipes provide both. Davies looked unconvinced. Churchill smiled. Also, I enjoy playing. If I'm going to die, I'd like to die doing something I love. The landing craft approached Vogsoy at dawn, December 27th. Cold, gray sky, waves crashing. The island looked dark, ominous. German defenders waited in bunkers. MG-42 machine guns, 7.9 rate of fire 1 to 100 rounds per minute. Each bunker could pour devastating fire onto the beach. The landing craft hit the shore. The ramp dropped. Churchill stood, raised the bagpipes, began playing March of the Cameron Men, stepped onto the beach, walking, not running, walking toward German positions while playing bagpipes. Behind him, 200 commandos stared in disbelief, then charged, screaming, firing, following the mad officer with the bagpipes. The German defenders opened fire, bullets everywhere, sand kicking up, commandos falling, but they kept coming, kept charging. Churchill finished the march, put down the bagpipes, drew his claymore, ran toward the nearest bunker. The bunker held 4 Germans, MG-42 machine gun, concrete walls, firing slit, nearly impervious to small arms fire. Churchill didn't use small arms. He used his sword, circled to the bunker's rear entrance, kicked the door, charged inside. The Germans inside were loading ammunition, turned, saw a British officer with a 2-handed sword. Churchill swung. The first German fell, swung again. The second German fell. The third German reached for his Luger pistol. Too slow. Churchill's sword took his hand off, then his head. The fourth German ran, straight out the front entrance, into British fire, dead in 3 seconds. Churchill stepped out of the bunker. His sword was red. He wiped it on a German tunic, advanced to the next position. By 0800 hours, the German garrison was collapsing. By 0900, the operation was complete. 98 German soldiers killed, 98 captured, 47 Norwegian collaborators arrested. British casualties, 17 killed, 53 wounded. Churchill personally captured 10 German soldiers, used his sword for all of them, not to kill, to intimidate. He'd appear out of nowhere, sword raised, screaming something in incomprehensible English-Scottish. Germans would drop their weapons, surrender immediately. Later, a German prisoner was asked why he surrendered to an officer with a sword. Because he was insane. You don't fight insane people. You run or surrender. Sicily and Italy, 42. Prisoners with 1 sword, July 1943. Operation Husky, Allied invasion of Sicily. Churchill landed with the commandos at Syracuse. The invasion was chaos, scattered landings, confused objectives, units separated, perfect conditions for commando work. Churchill took a small team inland. Mission: destroy a German radio station, standard sabotage. They approached the target at night. Small building, 2 guards outside, radio antenna on the roof. Churchill's men prepared to shoot the guards with silenced weapons. Churchill stopped them. Wait, I have a better idea. He stood, walked toward the guards, sword drawn, not hiding, not sneaking, just walking. The German guards saw him, raised their rifles, shouted, "Halt!" Churchill kept walking, raised his sword, screamed something incomprehensible. The guards fired, both missed. Churchill was already moving, dodged left, closed the distance, swung his sword. Both guards fell. Churchill's men rushed the building, destroyed the radio, withdrew. Total operation time, 4 minutes. No shots fired by British forces. 2 German casualties, 1 functioning German radio destroyed. Churchill's reputation grew. Mad Jack, the officer who fought with medieval weapons. German soldiers in Sicily began telling stories. The crazy British officer with the sword. Stay away from him. He's cursed, possessed, not human. September 1943, Salerno, Allied landing in Italy. Churchill's finest moment, night patrol. Churchill and 6 men. Mission, reconnaissance along the German defensive line. They found a German position. Mortar team, 81mm mortar, crew of 4. Supporting infantry, 38 soldiers. Total, 42 Germans. Churchill's men wanted to report the position. Call in artillery, standard procedure. Churchill had a different idea. We're taking them. Sir, there are 42 of them. Yes, and 7 of us. We have surprise. They have 42 rifles. I have a sword. Follow me. He stood, walked toward the German position. His men followed. What else could they do? Abandon their commanding officer? Churchill reached the German perimeter. The sentry was facing the wrong direction, watching for threats from the front, not from the side. Churchill killed him silently, with the sword. One strike. The sentry fell without a sound. Churchill kept moving into the German position. 42 men sleeping, resting, not expecting a British commando to walk into their camp with a sword. Churchill stood in the center of the camp, raised his sword, began shouting in German, Achtung! Sie sind umzingelt! Britische Armee! Hände hoch! Attention! You are surrounded! British Army! Hands up! The Germans woke, confused, disoriented, saw a British officer, sword raised, shouting in German. Where did he come from? How many British soldiers surrounded them? Churchill kept shouting, 100 Mann, Maschinengewehre, ergeben Sie sich oder sterben, 100 men, machine guns, surrender or die. One by one, the Germans raised their hands, then stood, then dropped their weapons. 42 German soldiers, surrendering to 7 British commandos, because a British officer with a sword convinced them they were surrounded. Churchill marched them back to British lines, 2 miles, through German-controlled territory, armed with only his sword, leading 42 prisoners. When he arrived at British headquarters, the duty officer stared. Churchill, where did these prisoners come from? German mortar position, 2 kilometers north. How many men did you take with you? 6. You captured 42 Germans with 7 men? Technically 6. I used the sword. They provided covering fire. The duty officer processed the prisoners, counted them, verified. 42 German soldiers, 1 81mm mortar, captured by 1 British officer with a sword, and 6 commandos. Churchill's most successful single operation. May 1944, Yugoslavia and capture Churchill was sent to Yugoslavia, supporting partisan operations against German forces, leading commando raids, destroying German supply lines. May 1944, island of Brach, German garrison holding the port. Churchill led the assault. The attack went wrong. German reinforcements arrived unexpectedly. Churchill's force was outnumbered, outgunned. They fought but were being overrun. Churchill stood on a wall, playing his bagpipes under fire, playing Will Ye No Come Back Again. A mortar round exploded nearby. Shrapnel hit Churchill. He fell, unconscious. When he woke, he was a prisoner. Germans standing over him. His sword was gone. His bagpipes destroyed. He was bleeding. A German officer spoke English. You are the officer with the sword? Churchill said nothing. Mad Jack, that's what the soldiers call you. The crazy British officer. You've been captured on Kos, wounded on Brach, fought in Sicily, Norway, France. Very impressive record. Thank you. You'll be interrogated, then sent to a camp. The war is over for you, Colonel Churchill. Churchill smiled. We'll see. Sachsenhausen, Escape Number 1, September 1944, Sachsenhausen concentration camp, 30 kilometers north of Berlin. The Germans thought Churchill might be related to Winston Churchill, kept him in a special section, better treatment than regular prisoners. but still a prisoner. Churchill immediately began planning escape. Met another British prisoner, RAF pilot, shot down over Hamburg. They became partners. The plan was simple: dig tunnel, escape, reach Baltic coast, steal boat, sail to Sweden. Easy. The tunnel took 6 weeks. They dug at night, hid the entrance during day, used smuggled tools, worked in absolute silence. September 1944. The tunnel was complete. Churchill and the pilot crawled through, emerged outside the camp perimeter, began walking north. They walked for 5 days, avoiding roads, traveling at night, eating whatever they could find, getting closer to the Baltic. On the 5th day, German patrol found them. Dogs, soldiers, no way to run. They were returned to Sachsenhausen. Punishment, solitary confinement. 2 weeks in darkness. When Churchill emerged from solitary, the commandant visited. "Colonel Churchill, you will not escape again. We are transferring you to a more secure facility. Austria, mountains, guards everywhere. Impossible to escape." Churchill smiled. Impossible is an interesting word. Austria, escape number 2. The Austrian camp was smaller, more secure, built into a mountain, guards on all sides. But Churchill noticed something. The guards were old, Volkssturm, Home Guard, drafted civilians in their 50s and 60s, not professional soldiers. April 1945. Soviet forces were approaching from the east, American forces from the west. Germany was collapsing. The war would be over in weeks. Churchill didn't want to wait, wanted to escape, return to fighting. The war might be over, but he wasn't done. April 1945. Night. Churchill climbed the fence. It was tall, barbed wire at top. He used a stolen blanket to cover the wire, climbed over, dropped to the other side. The guards didn't notice or didn't care. War was ending. Let the British colonel escape. Why die for nothing? Churchill walked into the Austrian mountains, alone. No map, no supplies, just determination. He walked west, toward American lines, through the Alps. Temperature near freezing. He had no coat, no food, just his uniform and boots. 3 days of walking. He found an abandoned German truck, military vehicle, keys still in ignition. Germans retreating so fast they left everything. Churchill had driven trucks before, in civilian life. How hard could a German military truck be? He started it, drove west, toward American territory, hoping not to run into SS units who might shoot first and ask questions later. May 1st, 1945. American checkpoint near Verona, Italy. The American soldier saw a German truck approaching, raised his rifle, then saw the driver, thin, gaunt, British uniform, mustache. "Stop the vehicle, identify yourself." Churchill stopped, climbed out, raised his hands. "Lieutenant Colonel John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill, British Army, escaped from German prison camp in Austria. I need to get back to England. The war isn't over yet." The American soldier stared. "Sir, the war is basically over. Germany is surrendering. Hitler's dead. It's done." Churchill's face fell. Genuine disappointment. "Already? That's unfortunate." "Sir, I wanted to keep fighting. If it wasn't for you damn Yanks dropping those atomic bombs on Japan, we could have kept this war going another 10 years. The American didn't know how to respond. This British officer was disappointed the war was ending. Churchill was processed, sent to rear headquarters, eventually returned to England. The war in Europe ended May 8, 1945. Churchill arrived in London May 12th. He immediately volunteered to fight Japan, sent to Burma, assigned to prepare for invasion of Malaya. August 1945. Atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. World War II ended. Churchill was genuinely upset. No more fighting. Peace. His least favorite condition. After the war, the soldier who loved fighting 1945-1959, Churchill remained in the army, What else would he do? Fighting was his life. He worked as a parachute instructor, age 40 plus, teaching young soldiers how to jump from planes. He loved it. He learned surfing, became the first person to surf the River Severn Bore in England, riding tidal waves inland, insane, dangerous, perfect for Mad Jack. He built radio-controlled model boats, sailed them on lakes, terrified children when his battleship models had functional cannons that actually fired. He continued carrying his sword to military ceremonies, refused to wear just a dress uniform. A gentleman must have his sword. Other officers found him eccentric. Children found him fascinating. He'd demonstrate sword fighting to Boy Scout troops, teach archery, play bagpipes at local events. In 1959, he retired from the Army, age 53, moved to Surrey, continued his hobbies, surfing, archery, bagpipes, sword collecting. He married, had 2 children, lived quietly, told stories about the war to anyone who'd listen. People who met him in civilian life didn't believe the stories. British officer who fought with a sword, captured 42 Germans alone, escaped from concentration camps twice. It sounded like fantasy, but every detail was documented. Military records, German prisoner reports, fellow commando testimonies, all of it confirmed. Mad Jack Churchill really did fight World War II with medieval weapons, really did kill with a longbow, really did play bagpipes under fire, really did capture 42 Germans with only a sword. March 8, 1996, Surrey, England. John Churchill died at age 89, natural causes, surrounded by family. His claymore sword hung on the wall above his bed, his longbow in the corner, his bagpipes nearby. His obituary in the Times called him an eccentric but distinguished officer. It mentioned his service, his decorations, his unusual weapons choice. It didn't capture who he really was, a man who loved fighting so much he was disappointed when wars ended, who believed modern warfare had become too impersonal, who thought officers should lead from the front with swords drawn and bagpipes playing. His funeral was military honors, full ceremony, but someone also played bagpipes. March of the Cameron Men, the same tune Churchill had played at Vogsoy in 1941. His children inherited his weapons, the claymore, the longbow, the bagpipes. They donated them to military museums, where they remain today, displayed with small plaques explaining their history. Claymore sword, used by Lieutenant Colonel J.M.T.F. Churchill in combat operations 1940-1945. Confirmed kills unknown. Prisoners captured 42. English longbow, used by Lieutenant Colonel Churchill. Last confirmed longbow kill in warfare. Lepinette, France, May 27, 1940. Bagpipes played by Lieutenant Colonel Churchill during Operation Archery, Vogsoy, Norway, December 27, 1941. Thousands of visitors pass these displays annually. They see medieval weapons in a World War II museum. They assume it's a mistake or a historical comparison. Medieval weapons next to modern firearms. Then they read the plaques and understand. One British officer actually used these weapons in combat against Germans armed with machine guns, tanks, and artillery, and survived. Mad Jack Churchill proved something important. War isn't just about weapons technology. It's about psychology, intimidation, surprise. A German soldier trained to fight against rifles and grenades had no training for fighting a British officer with a sword. The shock was a weapon. The absurdity was a weapon. The sheer audacity of attacking with medieval weapons in 1940 was such an unexpected tactic that it worked. But it only worked because Churchill was genuinely skilled. He wasn't carrying a sword as a prop. He knew how to use it, had trained with swords since childhood, could kill efficiently with bladed weapons. The bagpipes weren't just noise. They were psychological warfare, making noise when everyone else was trying to be quiet, announcing your presence when military doctrine said, maintained stealth. It terrified defenders because it suggested the attackers were fearless or insane. Either way, dangerous. Churchill's great insight was understanding that in warfare, perception matters as much as firepower. An enemy who thinks you're crazy is an enemy who's already half defeated, because crazy people are unpredictable, and unpredictability is terrifying. His famous quote, "Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed." It sounds like a joke. It wasn't. Churchill genuinely believed officers should set examples, should lead from the front, should demonstrate courage physically, not just give orders from behind. A sword forced you to the front. Couldn't use a sword from 300 yards away. Had to get close, had to expose yourself, had to risk everything. That was Churchill's philosophy. If you're asking men to risk their lives, you risk yours first. You lead, you charge, you play bagpipes on a beach under machine gun fire because it inspires your men to follow. Did it work? The operational record says yes. Churchill's commando operations had high success rates. His men followed him into insane situations, because if the commanding officer was crazy enough to charge with a sword, then following him with a rifle suddenly seemed reasonable. Mad Jack Churchill died in 1996, but his legend lives on. The last man to kill with a bow in warfare, the officer who captured 42 Germans with a sword, the commando who played bagpipes during amphibious assaults, the man who loved war so much he was genuinely disappointed when it ended, the man who proved that sometimes the oldest weapons are the most effective, not because they kill better, but because they terrify better. And in war, terror is often more valuable than bullets.